Having missed her plane, Maria sank down onto the cold airport floor and burst into tears. At that moment, someone's hand touched her shoulder. A beautiful young gypsy woman was standing next to her. It's stupid to cry, fate gave you a chance. Stop by your husband's work, and you'll understand why all this happened. And before we continue, please write what country you're from and how old you are. Enjoy listening. Maria stood in line at security, clutching her bag tightly to her chest, which contained her tickets, passport, and the little things she always took with her on the road. Wet wipes, a small bottle of perfume, but she had a good luck charm in the form of a thin silver cross that she had inherited from her grandmother. Music was playing softly in her headphones, but she could barely hear it. Her heart was beating too fast. This trip was something special for her. Neither a vacation nor a business trip. An escape from fatigue, from anxiety, from the feeling that her life was slowly being squeezed into a vice, turning into an endless routine in which she had almost lost herself. Her husband Sergey was staying late at work more and more often. Their conversations were limited to routine phrases. Have you eaten? I'm tired. We'll discuss it tomorrow. Buy some bread. Quote. It was as if love had dissolved into everyday life. Maria felt empty, like a squeezed lemon, and so she made up her mind. She would fly alone, at least not for long, at least for a week. But everything went wrong. The line moved painfully slowly. In front of her, a woman with a child could not pack her bags after the check. Behind her, someone was loudly indignant, demanding that the process be speeded up. Maria nervously looked at her watch. She had only 15 minutes left until boarding was over. When they finally let her through, she almost ran to the boarding gate. The airport corridors seemed endless, as if they were deliberately stretching out, mocking her. The voice from the speakers repeated mercilessly, "Boarding is complete for flight number 247 to Sochi. We ask passengers to proceed to gate number 6. Quote. Maria quickened her pace, almost ran, but when she ran out to the right gate, the doors were already closed. The stewardess, with a stony face, like a machine, announced, "Boarding is complete, the flight is closed." "But please," Maria stopped mid-sentence, breathing heavily. "I really need it." "I'm literally sorry for a second," the employee repeated indifferently. Safety rules. Maria stood there for a few more seconds, as if she couldn't believe that this was the end. The plane was leaving without her. She was late. Her hands began to tremble. A lump appeared in her throat, and, unable to bear it, she sank right down onto the cold floor by the exit. People were passing by. Some were throwing sympathetic glances, some were condemning, but no one cared. Maria covered her face with her hands and burst into tears. Everything was collapsing. Her plans, her hope of escaping at least for a little while, her fragile faith that something could still be changed. It was stupid to cry. A gentle but confident voice made her shudder. She felt a light hand on Maria's shoulder. She looked up and saw a girl, a young gypsy with long black hair tucked into a bright scarf. She was wearing a simple dress, but it fit her as if it was made for her. And there were sparks in her eyes, not mockery, but some ancient wisdom. "Forgive me," Maria whispered, wiping away her tears. "I'm just so tired. I wanted to fly away, and now you're lucky," the girl interrupted her. The smile on her face was strange, unsympathetic, joyless. And somehow confident, as if she knew more than she said. When fate closes a door, it always opens a window. The only question is whether you have enough courage to look there. Maria frowned. "What do you mean?" The gypsy leaned closer. Her serious gaze literally pierced. "Do you think that you lost the opportunity to fly away? But in fact, you were given a chance to see what was hidden from you. Stop by your husband's work today, now, and you will understand why all this happened." Maria was dumbfounded. Her heart sank. "Why to Sergey?" She tried to laugh, but the laughter came out nervous. You don't even know me. I know enough, the gypsy answered calmly. I see the eyes of a woman who has long felt the lie, but is afraid to admit it to herself. Maria froze. The words cut to the quick. She really had been feeling the coldness from her husband for a long time. Too many strange calls at work, too many evenings at the office, too little warmth and concern. She drove away the suspicion, because otherwise she would have to admit that their family was falling apart. Why? Why should I believe you? Quote, she whispered. The gypsy smiled softly. Because you yourself want to believe. Because your soul screams that the truth is near. They looked at each other for a few more seconds. Then the girl carefully removed her hand from her shoulder and stood up. Quote, go, she said. Your road today is not to heaven, but to where the truth awaits you. And turning around, she disappeared into the crowd. Maria sat there for a long time, unable to move. It seemed that the stranger's words penetrated her heart and touched the most painful part. Why go to her husband? What would she see there? But a feeling was growing inside, she had to do it. She stood up, took her bag and slowly walked to the airport exit. Her soul was heavy, anxious, but somewhere deep inside, a strange feeling arose, as if her life was really ready to change. Maria sat in the taxi, clenching her hands on her knees so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The car slowly moved along the busy highway. The city outside the windows stretched like a gray ribbon of houses, billboards and traffic lights. Everything seemed more familiar, but at the same time alien. Where exactly are we taking you? Quote, the taxi driver asked, turning around at a red light. Orion Business Center, Maria answered quietly. You know? Of course I know, he nodded. Half the city works there. Maria turned to the window. For the first time in a long time, she felt afraid. Her legs were shaking, her breathing was ragged. What was she going to see there? Her husband at his desk, tired, focused, as he always said, or what she so avoided allowing into her thoughts. She remembered how a year ago Sergey came home late at night. Then he said that he was at a meeting with a client. But his shirt smelled of someone else's perfume. She pretended not to notice. Pretended to believe. Then there were the calls that he dropped in front of her. There were business trips from which he returned too pleased and too silent. Maybe I was wrong, maybe this is all made up. Maria tried to calm herself down. But inside there was something else. A painful feeling that everything was coming together to form a single picture, and she was simply afraid to look at it. The taxi pulled up to a glass business center building. A tall tower with mirrored windows towered over the other buildings, reflecting the cloudy sky. We're here, the driver said. Maria couldn't open the door right away. It felt like her feet were rooted to the floor. She took a deep breath, clutched the strap of her bag, and got out. A cold wind hit her face, making her shiver. The building smelled of coffee and furniture polish. People with folders and laptops were hurrying, each in their own direction. No one paid any attention to her. Where are you going, young lady? The security guard at the reception stopped her. To the SV Tray Company. I am Sergey Orlov's wife. Quote, she said her last name firmly, as if she wanted to prove it to herself. She has the right to be here. 6th floor, office 612, the security guard responded, checking the database. Maria stepped into the elevator. Her heart was beating so loudly that it seemed like everyone around her could hear it. The steel doors closed and she was left alone with herself. Why am I doing this? She thought. And if he's there and everything is okay, I'll look stupid. But what if he's not? What if she was right? Quote. The elevator rang and the doors opened. The corridor was filled with soft light from the lamps. Abstract paintings hung on the walls. The sign 612 glowed at the end. Maria walked slowly. Every movement was difficult. As she approached the door, she heard voices. A woman's laughter, quiet, hoarse, too close, and a man's voice, Sergei's voice. She pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. The laughter repeated itself, and now there was no doubt. Her husband was not alone. Maria felt the ground slipping out from under her feet. No, maybe these were colleagues. Maybe just a conversation. She desperately tried to find an excuse, but the voice inside was merciless. You know the truth. You've known it for a long time. Maria stood at the threshold, pressing her palm to the cold metal handle. It seemed as if the entire corridor had frozen along with her. The air had become thick as molasses, and even the clock on the wall was ticking too loudly. She felt her heart pounding in her chest, and she was afraid that she would hear the sound inside. Behind the door, there was another laugh, a woman's, long, booming, slightly playful one. It hit her ears painfully, like a knife cutting through the thin film of illusions that Maria was still clinging to. She pushed the door a little harder, and the crack widened. A piece of an office opened through it, chrome desk legs, a white leather folder thrown on the edge, and women's high-heeled shoes standing right on the desk. Maria convulsively sucked in air. Her head was spinning. She stepped back, pressed her back against the wall, and at that moment Sergei's voice was heard inside. Take it off, I want to see. His tone was like he had never spoken to her before. There was no weariness or irritation in it, like at home, only play, desire and the tenderness that Maria had been looking for from him for so long. And then the soft rustle of fabric, a woman's giggle, the rustle of skin on skin. Maria clutched the handle with her fingers so tightly that her nails dug into the metal. Everything swam before her eyes. She wanted to run away, but her legs wouldn't obey. She wanted to scream, but her throat tightened. Her whole body froze, like a cornered animal caught in a trap. She pushed the door anyway. It swung wide open, hitting the wall. The room opened up before her in all its vile frankness. Sergei was sitting in a chair, leaning back, and on his lap was a young girl in an unbuttoned blouse. Her red hair cascaded over her shoulders. Her lips were painted with bright lipstick. They didn't even notice Maria at first. The seconds dragged on endlessly. Masha, Sergei finally croaked, jumping up so abruptly that the girl almost fell. What are you doing here? Maria looked at him and did not recognize him. Everything in his appearance. The crumpled shirt, the unbuttoned belt, the confused face. Seemed alien, not the man with whom she had shared a bed and life for many years. Her voice broke. She barely squeezed the words out of herself. I came to my husband. A bitter, tearing wave rose inside, a mixture of pain, anger, resentment. It seemed that her chest would split if she did not say everything now. You said that you work nights, that you get tired for us, that everything is for the family. She laughed and cried at the same time. But it turns out, it was all for this. The girl, straightening her blouse, stood up and, looking Maria straight in the eyes, said impudently, Maybe you should go out? We have a personal meeting. Quote. These words were the last straw. Maria stepped forward and slammed the door behind her. No, she said firmly, her voice trembling, but inside there was a steely note. Today you will go out. Sergei turned pale. He was not used to seeing his wife like this. Her eyes were not burning with tears, but with a cold, determined light. Masha, wait, I will explain everything, he began hastily, taking a step towards her. It's just a mistake. A mistake, she interrupted, looking him straight in the face. A mistake a month long. A mistake for which you hid your calls. A mistake for which I waited for you at night, sitting by the window, believing your every word. She felt the wings of something new spreading in her chest. There was no longer any fear. Instead, there was emptiness and clarity. No, Sergei, the mistake was that I once believed in you. The silence in the room became unbearable. Even the clock on the wall seemed to have stopped. The girl hastily grabbed her purse and slipped out into the hallway. Her heels quickly clattered into the distance, leaving them alone, husband and wife, who suddenly became strangers. "Masha, please." Sergey's voice was pitiful, almost pleading. "Give me a chance." Maria looked at him for the last time. "You had a chance every day. I gave you years, and now I'm getting myself back." She turned around and left, slamming the door loudly. The hallway greeted her with silence, and a faint smell of coffee, but there was no longer emptiness inside her. There was a fire burning there. She walked to the elevator slowly, but confidently, like a person who had finally stopped being afraid. Maria did not yet know where this road would lead her, but she knew for sure, there was no turning back. Maria left the office building, and the cold spring air hit her face, as if trying to bring her to her senses. The city was noisy, cars honked, passers-by hurried about their business, and no one cared about the woman whose life had just collapsed. But at some strange, almost painful moment, she felt that this was her freedom. The world had not collapsed with her, it continued to live. So she could too. She walked down the street, not knowing where. Her steps were uneven, her head was buzzing, but with each passing minute it became easier. She remembered the words of the gypsy. "Fate gave you a chance. Go to your husband's work, and you will understand. Now everything has become clear." "Thank you," Maria whispered to herself, as if addressing the void. In the evening she returned home. The same sofa, the same table, everything in place. Only now this space seemed alien to her, dead. Maria slowly walked through the rooms, touching things. A vase that she and Sergey had once bought at the market, a framed photograph of them smiling at the sea, an old coffee maker that he had given her on March 8. "Everything is a lie," she said quietly, putting the photograph away in a drawer. Sleep did not come that night. Maria lay listening to the ticking of the clock. Pain throbbed inside. She cried, then froze, feeling that tears no longer brought relief. At dawn she got up, made strong tea, and for the first time in many years allowed herself the thought, what if I start over? Sergey called first once, then twice, then dozens. Maria looked at the phone screen, but did not answer. "Forgive me, I'm a fool. This means nothing. I love only you. Talk to me, I beg you." Each message seemed pathetic and empty to her. Love, where was it on those evenings when he chose not her, but other people's hands? His voice sounded in the doorbell. One day he came. Maria did not open. She sat in silence and listened to him pounding his fist on the door, how he begged, how he promised to fix everything. But she knew there was no way back. A week later, Maria decided to go to Olga, an old friend with whom they had grown apart long ago. They sat in the kitchen, drank tea, and Maria finally told her everything, every detail, every prick of pain. Olga listened attentively, without interrupting, only occasionally squeezing her hand. "You are strong, Masha," she said when she finished. "You can't even imagine what it is. You have a chance to build a life anew. Not for him, for yourself." Quote, for the first time in a long time, these words sounded like salvation. Maria began to go out into the world. She signed up for design courses, which she had long wanted to take, but never had the time. She began to draw again. She caught herself smiling when she held a brush in her hands. One evening, leaving the studio, Maria ran into a man. He helped her pick up a folder that she dropped and jokingly said, "Your art is heavy." His name was Andrei. He taught at the same center. Tall, calm, with a soft smile. They started a conversation. First a short one, then a longer one. Quote, a week later they were sitting in a cafe and laughing at something that only the two of them understood. Maria felt that she felt at ease with him, without tension, without masks. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to laugh the way she had laughed in her youth. But Sergei did not give up. He continued to look for a meeting. One day, Maria saw him at her entrance. He was standing there exhausted, with his shoulders drooping. "Mash, I have lost everything," he said. "Without you, I'm nothing." She looked at him for a long time and for the first time felt no pain, only emptiness. "Did you choose this, Seryoza? Not me." She turned around and left without even looking back. Several months passed. Life was slowly entering a new direction. Maria was still learning to trust again, but she already felt different. She stopped being a woman who lived in the shadow of other people's decisions. She became a woman who decides her own destiny. One day, looking at the lake in the park, she remembered the words of that same gypsy. "It's stupid to cry, fate gave you a chance." Maria smiled. Then she did not believe it, but now she understood that on that day when she missed the plane, her life was just beginning. She stood up, straightened her shoulders and walked forward, where a new chapter awaited her.